Salutations and good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Encrypted Connections. I am your host, Kyle. And tonight, let me bring him on the screen because he's backstage. He just got here. Tonight, we have one of our favorite people in the world, somebody that I consider one of my very good friends. I'm so happy that we're connected and that we have kind of fostered this relationship. Ladies and gentlemen, you get what you ask for here. Donnie Miller is back. How are you, Donnie?
Doing good, brother. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you greatly. That means
No,
the world to me. And you know how I feel about you. We bond to certain people that the Spirit of God lines us up with, and you are absolutely one of those people. And I'm so blessed to have you in my life, and very blessed for you to have invited me to come over here tonight. And guys, we're late because of me. Just to give you a heads up. Uh, I had to go to Alabama for a doctor's appointment, and normally I'm home by 5:00, 5:30, and their internet line was cut for the building, so they couldn't access files, they couldn't pay, we couldn't do anything, so I had to wait till that was repaired. But I'm here. Literally been here 2 minutes. I'm still trying to get organized, but I'm here. Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me on.
Well, thank you for being here, man. I appreciate it. And it's not your fault. It's not because of you. It's because these things happen, man. That's life. That's life on life's terms. We have a plan. God's got a different one, brother. God's got a different one. You think you got a plan, and he goes, all right, I'll show you.
Our batteries tend to run dry on us a little quicker than his does. I'm trying to get all my stuff together.
That's all right. Take your time. I'm going to say hi to some people in the chat here. Hey, Jeff, right up top. What's going on, brother? Trish, Don, Brown Dwarf, Sugar Britches, Maggie, Hope, Francesca, Trish, Don Moore, Addie, man, oh goodness, River. Wow, look at all you guys tonight. Janelle.
Figured out how to turn the comments on.
Sharon, look at all these people. Kimberly, Show Me Squatch, Jody. My goodness, Sonia from Iceland. Sonia, is that where you're from? I always forget. Sonia's from way over in Iceland, I believe, or somewhere like that. Yeah, pretty crazy, man. That to me, that blows my mind when I see that somebody's watching from way over
Kimberly
there.
Roberts, that's my Kim. That's my wife.
Oh, that's your wife?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Right on. Well, welcome. Welcome. Hey, guys, real quick. I don't say it enough. My mom gets on my butt about it. She says, you need to tell people. You need to tell people in the chat that they need to subscribe. They need to hit the like button. So
that support. Absolutely.
I don't say it, and I need to say it more often because I think it probably makes a difference. I think people just forget sometimes. Ollie's here. Say hi to Ollie. He's rubbing up on the microphone.
There he is.
Everybody knows that this is the Encrypted Connections mascot. Every time I'm live, he comes and makes an appearance every single time. No fail, every time. Usually people, if we get through like about an hour of the show and no one sees him, you'll start seeing in the comments, where's the cat? Where's Ollie? Haven't seen the cat tonight.
That's awesome. Yeah. Part of the family.
That's right.
Absolutely. And
he's a good boy. So, guys, please subscribe, hit the like, hit the notification bell so you get notified of every video that we drop. Sometimes I do surprise videos. Some of the comedy skit stuff that I've been doing. I don't tell anybody. I just do it and then drop it. And trust me, some of those are pretty funny. It's worth getting the notification to watch a 2-minute comedy parody video that we make. We're here to have a good time. That's what it's all about. Talked about it the other day. The thing that's missing the most in this community is the fun factor. People get too wrapped up in the competition. I got a new mustache. There we go.
There you go. That's a good looking one there.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yes.
People get too wrapped up in the competition of this, like, it's like they think they're going to solve this riddle And I hate to tell you guys, I hate to break the news to you, but I don't think any one of us are going to solve this riddle in our lifetime. The Bigfoot riddle, the Sasquatch riddle. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I mean, the people have been at this since the 1950s, and we haven't really gotten that much further than we were back then. We found a few things out, but not a whole lot. So to be in competition with other people instead of trying to lift each other up and help each other out, to further the cause, to bring more awareness, and to create a better atmosphere here, it's just silly. It's just silly, you know. And forgive me, I'm losing my voice. I may clear my throat a lot tonight. I'm praying I'm not getting this super strep bug that's going around, but I got a sore throat. I'm getting hoarse. I'm praying I'm not getting it, man. I've been so lucky, knock on wood. I haven't really been sick this year in 2022. Little sinus infection, but that was it. Other than that, I haven't been sick. So I'm hoping I'm not getting this thing, man. I really don't want it. This super strep is supposed to be nasty.
Miracles for you.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Absolutely. As Jody said it, great. Prayers work.
Yeah, absolutely. Amen to that.
Amen. So yeah, man. Jeff's a trooper. I didn't see his messages till last minute. And I was rushing around. So to be completely honest with you, you being late did me a favor. Gave me an extra 30 minutes. That's right. Gave me an extra 30 minutes. But Jeff's a trooper. He was messaging me and I didn't see it. He said, "Hey man, I'll come on and place it Donnie until he gets there." Had I seen it sooner, I may have done it, but I may not have. I don't know. I was just rushing around so much, man. Trying to eat.
Jeff's a blessing.
Yeah, he's a wonderful, wonderful man. He's a wonderful man. Yeah.
And always there. Always there for you. And
for sure.
That's an absolute blessing. All right. I just think I got everything in here with me. My just in case file. I got our brother Don Moore. Yes, he's here.
He's here.
He's the one. For those that don't know, I share articles on our channel, and it's all over the place. Not just Bigfoot. It's the dogman creatures, a little bit of everything, even the paranormal. We just we hop all over the place. And our brother Don Moore, he's the one that does the research and provides that material to me and for us. This is just a sample of, some of it that I have. This is the book that I take with me if I'm going to do some in the field. The book I have over here is about that thick, and it's full of them.
Amazing.
Ones that we've done, but I got some here that I haven't done. And it's just to send the offer to you, Kyle. If you'd like for me to share some of that with everyone here tonight, I'm more than welcome to.
Go, yeah, absolutely.
But we got a few we can do. I'm looking now. I think this one has pictures. Yeah, it's got quite a few pictures with it, and I don't proofread them. Don sends them to me, and I just, when we do a show, I open it up and we start from page 1. And sometimes I mess up, proofreading. It kind of helps you not get tongue tied once you start reading them, and I get tongue tied pretty easily. But I've got one here that I have not shared yet.
All right.
And then I've got a continuation. We've done a lot of the dogmen attacks and the supposed dogmen attacks, and I've just got some more of the articles on these victims of some other too. But that's up to you, whichever route you want to go.
Yeah, no. If you want to do that, we could start that way if you want. We could start that way, and then we can go into some of the other stuff that you've had happen over the last few months. We can touch on some stuff we touched on last time for the people who may not have been here, and we'll just do it that way.
Yeah, we had things have seemed to be ramping up, and it's not just at the property, but one of the areas that we're hunting. Two of the areas now. One of them this past weekend, there was a howl, a very loud howl. and 4 of us out there, 3 of us heard it. And we were in different areas of the property. It's a large property, 500 acres. And 1 out of 4 of us didn't hear it. And it was spooky. It sounded like the same house that you hear other people playing the recordings of. It was the same basic thing. And it sounded like it had an echo to it. We're in a swamp. You don't get an echo in Florida, not often, but it had an echo. It was really strange. And we just had, I think it was around 4:30 in the afternoon, 4:40. It gets dark about 5:30. 5:20 to 5:21 on this particular day was the last legal time that you could pull the trigger on a deer. And when the house started, I was facing almost east, and it had come from what would have been northeast of me. And it was just a howl like you hear all over the internet.
Mm-hmm.
But it sounded like it was a pretty good distance from me. It wasn't right, 100 yards. It was out there, probably 500 or 600 yards, if not further. And in seconds, there was a response that was almost straight in front of me, which would have been straight east. And I had to go like northeast across the swamp to get to my truck. But to get there, I had to go straight east and then turn, because the swamp is deep, toward the right-hand side of me. It's deep. And I didn't stay. The deer moving. We need to get 3 more deer so that we got meat to get us through the year. And there's families that we help. And I packed my stuff up. When I heard the howl, I just kind of, did I hear that? And then the response came really quick, and it was like toward my truck. And I said, nope, I'm done. I left. I didn't see anything, didn't hear nothing else after that. But things just seemed to be ramping up. And we've had no activity at that property.
None.
Nothing. No tracks, no broke trees, nothing. I thought it was going to be one of the places that we wouldn't have to deal with anything like that.
It's funny because I talked to somebody just last night, yesterday on the phone about this, and they were saying that where they are, they've been getting more and more calls because that's what they do. They've been a researcher for a while, and when people have trouble with them, they contact this person. They are the person that's in the area, that's in this area that they contact if they want help. And they said that they've been having more calls now than they've had in the last few years, especially at this time of the year, winter coming, and that the most of the calls are related to them being more intrusive on people's property. Raiding garbage cans, dumpsters at businesses. I wonder why. I mean, I know it's winter. Maybe it's easier for them to grab a quick meal that way, but for the number of calls and incidents to ramp up that much, I just wonder why. I wonder what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have an answer that I could say is the absolute truth as to why it's happening.
Yeah.
But in my heart, my spirit, I believe it's because we're getting closer to that time.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people call it the great day of the Lord. If you, depending on your interpretation of the Bible, it tells us that right there at the end of days, before God sends his son to come back and reclaim the earth, that the beasts are let out of the pit to wreak havoc upon mankind. And but they're not allowed to harm not even a blade of grass, and that's definitely not Sasquatch. They tear up the trees, they tear up everything. But
yeah,
I think it has something to do with us getting near closer to that time, because it's not just these things that are ramping up. It's the alien arena with UFOs. It's demonic activity. It's going through the roof, the demonic stuff. We live in a strange time, and what I was telling you earlier today, some of the stuff that's been happening, like up at our property, it's always been weird. Always had weird stuff happening, and Jeff has been there. He can tell you, straight from his mouth what he's experienced there. But recently, I've been getting whispers, like somebody's right here, loud whispers, and I'm not catching them while I'm. It's not that I'm filming and I'm hearing it on the playback. I'm hearing it in real time, and I'm sitting in a blind. I've got maybe 2 feet from the back of my head to the blind, to the wall in the blind. The wall behind me, the wall to my right, there's no windows in it. The door, there's a section of the door that you unhook. It's got 3 hooks on it. You unhook it, and it'll swing out, and that's how you come and go. But directly behind the wall behind me is a really thick holly bush, and there's stakes you put in around the perimeter of the blind. It has no stake in the middle and the back. It's supposed to, but you can't reach it. It's packed so tight into that brush, I can't get my arm down there to put a stake in it. And it sounded like it was either right here in the blind with me, or it was just outside of that wall. And it's not possible with that big holly there, but it was just whispering. And when I first heard it, it kind of startled me. I thought somebody walked in on me, and I got to listen, and you kind of cock your head. You're trying to get your ear facing the direction that you hear it, and there's no crunching of the leaves, and leaves are everywhere. The blackjack oaks are dropping their leaves, and they're big leaves, really loud and crunchy. Walking in, it was so loud getting in there, and I went in about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, went straight to the blind, got in it, got sat down, and I guess it was around 3:30, 3:45 that I started hearing the whispering. It was loud, but I couldn't understand. I couldn't make out what it was saying. But I never heard nobody walk up on me. I never heard nobody leave. And I sat there for a little bit and thought I could stick it out. I'm imagining it, and it started again. And I turned in the seat to try to get, because I can't turn my head to look behind me. And so I turned in the seat as far as I could. There's nobody in the blind with me.
Right.
I'm by myself. There's nothing there. And
Yeah.
turned almost to where I was facing the back wall, and I'm still hearing it. And it's coming from inside the tent. And this thing's like 50 inches by 50 inches on the inside. It's very small. There's nowhere for anybody to be. And I said, no, that's it. I'm gone. And I got out of it. But when I climbed out of the blind, I looked over behind it. There's nobody. There's nobody anywhere around it. And so I left. But in 2 weeks' time, that's 3 times I've had whispering just right there on me. And
So weird.
I don't know. Native American, maybe ancient spirits. I don't know. I don't know.
I was going to say that Florida is there's so much land down there that is old Native American land.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. And anyone who knows anything about Native Americans and the Native American land, they were very attached to it. It was very important to them, and that's why Native American graveyards are something that you just don't mess with. The connection there, and the spiritual boundaries there are they run very deep, and you just it's not something anyone's supposed to build over or desecrate or even go on if you're not the right person, let's say.
And I've heard a lot of people tell of doing paranormal investigations in these areas that are known to be native burial areas and native sacred lands. They'll go in doing paranormal investigations and run into these werewolf things, these dogman creatures. And
no thanks.
There's so many people that I've heard them say that they believe these dogman creatures are the protectors of the dead for the Native Americans. And I don't know. If that's the case, I hope we don't have any burial sites on the property, but You can go any farms in the area, all the dirt roads around where our property is, when they grade them, the ones that are county maintained, you can walk down the edges where the dirt kind of, it's mounded up. It's like a berm. And especially after they grade it or after heavy rain, you can find arrowheads, the
Yeah.
old stone arrowheads. And
Yeah.
there was a heavy Native American presence in that area, but I don't know if there's a sacred site. We got that running creek going through it, and it's got springs on it. And I'm sure it would be a prime spot, back in the day when they lived in tents and in teepees and, just slept under the stars, to be there because of the water. But I don't know. I don't have any documentation or anything to back that up. It's just all
But
the
there's so many stories about this stuff, though. It's not a coincidence. We up here in the Northeast, we have a lot of Native American land up here too. This is this is the oldest settled part of the United States where I live. Right,
Wow.
New England is the
Wow.
oldest settled part of the United States. This is where everything first happened that gave us this new country and our freedom. So when you talk about history and you talk about energy and hauntings, this is some of the most haunted land in the United States here, from Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, New York, Rhode Island. It is a lot of haunted stuff up here, and so we kind of understand it pretty good up here. Salem, Massachusetts, is supposed to be one of the most haunted places in the United States. It's where the Salem witch trials were held.
Yeah. I'll bypass that area if I'm ever traveling.
I go there almost every year.
Wow.
Almost every year they do a big Halloween celebration. It's really fun, and it's such a neat town. It really is. It's such a cool little town. Cobblestone streets, wrought iron street lamps.
Yeah, I've seen some of the real old houses that are there that people are still living in.
Yeah, it's amazing.
300, 400-year-old homes. That would be, I'd love to have a home like that. But
me too.
Back then they didn't care if they built on top of a native site. They'd level it out, throw the headstones, to the side and start construction.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to live in one that's got spirits in it. Been there, we done that. We had quite a bit of activity here a few years back, and it finally subsided. We still get some, but it's not like it was. And I think it had something to do with them deer heads that I found and I brought home, because that's when it started, and it got crazy.
Well, I live a stone's throw from a Revolutionary War battlefield. That's haunted. It's literally, you could walk out my front porch, and if you got a good enough arm, you could throw a baseball from here to it. And and there's
I'd love to check that out. But
it's really neat, man. It's really cool because the way it is they built all the bunkers, right, and the big berms to protect against the cannon fire and the gunfire that was coming from the river, because it's facing the Thames River, and so it's uphill. So the river's down here at the bottom, and then the fort is slanted uphill. So all the berms and the protection is up at the top. And then as it goes down, when it levels out at the bottom, then it's literally level with the river, and that's where the cannons are set up, right along the wall, right at the river.
Wow.
There's like 6 cannons right there.
Awesome.
And then ammunition sheds. There's this really cool stone tunnel that goes through one of the hills, and down at the bottom there's a house, a really old house that was there during the battle. Well, somewhere different, but they relocated it to there, and what it was a makeshift hospital triage for the injured soldiers from here. And
so it's probably got a ton of spiritual energy.
Oh yeah, tons. I mean, you can feel it. When we first moved here, Donnie, people thought I was crazy. I kept hearing, because I don't sleep. I sleep really bad, and almost not every night, but a good amount of nights around between 2 and 3 a.m. I would hear these loud booms, but they were muffled at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They were loud, but they sounded like they were kind
They were
of,
behind a few walls. It sounded like
yeah,
little brick
kind of, yeah,
walls.
just like that. Yep. And I kept hearing it, and it was coming from down there. And I thought maybe something was going on in the river. They were, I don't know, I don't know. But I'm thinking to myself, at 2 or 3 in the morning, there's no way they're blasting anything.
That's
And,
crazy.
and then I figured out what it was. It's
Yeah.
it's ghostly cannon fire.
I need to get you some diving gear. Go in the river and get you some of the old cannonballs and
Oh man,
the
that'd be
muskets and
awesome.
stuff that were dropped or thrown in the water. That would be cool. We have
Yeah,
a few friends that do that here,
yeah, that's
and
cool, man.
yeah, them cannonballs. Some of them are small. Some of them are they're big balls. But they recover bullets, buckles that were on the shoes
Yeah,
of the soldiers.
yep.
He's got a lot of buckles. Oh, geez, so many different artifacts that he found, and it goes all the way back to all of the wars that our history has taught us about. And he's got like pieces of, each war. He's got little artifacts from each one, and it's amazing. But I'm scared to get in water that I can't see. I
No,
am
me, I
not.
don't like it either.
No, if I can't see the bottom, I don't care how deep it is. But if it's 3 foot deep and I can't see the bottom, I'm not getting in it.
No, I'm
You know,
not. Nope.
I stepped on a gator one time, and he was small. I did see him, but I didn't see him until he popped up, and I stepped on him. He was laying on the bottom, and it was only waist deep water. We were speckled trout fishing, and the intercoastal waterway dumps into the bay right there, so it's murky, and we're waiting, and we got light tackle using live finger mullet, little fish about that long,
hmm
and just flipping them out and letting them swim on top of the water and the speckled trout to tear them up. But there's also gators out there.
I don't know
You
how
don't see
you
a
guys
lot of
do it. I never go in that water down there.
it,
Never.
it's not a lot of them. You'll see them. Normally you see them, and if they're facing you and they're moving toward you, you can see the wake as they're drifting. You just turn and go back to the bank, get away from them. They don't. It's not as bad as you hear the stories, but
hmm
we didn't see anything. I stepped on him and he took off, and just kind of my foot was on him. So when he took off, I ended up doing a spread eagle because he had my foot on him. He drugged my foot with him. And then he popped up about 10 feet from us, and he was kind of steamboating away, and he turned and faced us, and he was mad. Probably 3.5 or 4 foot. He wasn't big, but that was it. If I step on one, how many are out here?
Yeah, right.
That dude's got a mom and daddy out here somewhere. And I
Yeah,
definitely
exactly.
didn't wanna- So yeah, we ended up leaving, and I never wade fished there again. That was the last time. But yeah, you can't see. That
No.
water's murky. You put your hand under it, you can see it until you get about a foot under, and then
Yeah.
you can just make out a light shade of where your hand's at. But 2 feet, you're not seeing the bottom. You have to, when you're in the muddy areas up by the shore, you got to drag your feet because of the stingrays. You don't want to step on a stingray.
Nope.
They whip that tail up, and I got hit right on top of my foot between two of my toes. And it felt like somebody took a soldering iron and shoved it in my foot. And as time passed, that heat would just go up your foot and crawl up your leg, and it burned. Oh, it burned bad. And I ended up having to go to the hospital and get tetanus shot and getting some antibiotics because of the blood poison. But it didn't break off. I mean, he just barely poked me, and it may have went in a ½ inch at best. And it was just under the skin. It wasn't a deep puncture, but Lord of mercy, 100 hornets are nothing compared to what that stingray feels like.
Oh, no thanks, man. No way.
He had me speaking in tongues, about 20 different languages at the same time. And it was not, it was bad words. I was spitting out every word that I knew. But yeah, yeah, don't take much. I didn't mean to get us off track. So
No,
far.
you're good. Hey,
I
real
can't do that.
quick though, your buddy
Yes.
Don posed a very good question when you were talking about the whispers. He said, "Can whispers be cloaked cryptids?" It's a good question.
I don't know. I don't know why it couldn't. I was talking to Carrie, I think it was last year before, and I was telling him about a run-in I had in Caryville. This is actually close to where I'm hunting right now. It's
Mm-hmm.
5-6 miles from the area where I'm hunting, where we heard the scream, the howl. And I was walking through it's planted pines. There's some wet areas, but they're not considered swamp. And so the paper company does plant pines in it, but it's
Okay.
always wet,
Okay.
ankle deep at best. And you come out of the wet, you're in the dry stuff, and it's loud and crunchy. And there's just little clumps of thicket. And it's not very big, 30, 40 feet long by 10 to 20 feet wide. It's just little patches of thickets. And I seen something dark moving on the back side of it. And there was no sound. It was just this big figure just moving. And I was doing these heel to toe baby steps. I was stalk hunting. And even as quiet as I was being, I could hear my steps. And this thing he was traveling, covering some distance. And there was hardly any sound at all, very little. And it wasn't the sound that drew me to him. I never heard him. I seen it. I seen the movement. I turned my head up, and then I seen him going. And then I would hear every now and then just a very faint little noise. And but he come up. He got not quite in front of me. I was sort of traveling this way. He was going almost the same direction, but I seen him, so I turned, kind of toward him. I just wanted to get at the end of the thicket where I had a good view of him. And I got my eyes on him and watching him. He's moving. He gets behind some pine trees. These pines are planted in rows. They're about 10 foot apart from each other, and they're just rows, really long rows. And he ended up getting behind the pines. So it was two pine trees that were lined up, down the row. He gets in between these two trees, and I got my eyes on him, and I can't find him. He's just gone. And I eased out there on the edge of the thicket. I never turned my head away. I never looked down at the ground. I kept my eyes focused that way. And when I got out in the open, I wasn't real close to him, probably 80 yards, and he was moving away from me. But when I got up I moved that other 30 or 40 feet and got past that thicket where I could see way down the planted pines. He was just gone. There's no ground, no shrubbery. There's nowhere for him to go. And, did he cloak or, I mean, I don't know. He was there. It wasn't out of my peripheral. I had both eyes locked on him.
Yeah.
Because it's weird. If you see one standing there looking at you, it will scare the life out of you. You know what you're looking at. You know it's real, but he's looking at you, and there's just a feeling you can't hide. He knows every thought in your head. He knows every inch of your body. And this thing wasn't looking at me. And so it almost felt like a person dressed in black. And I knew it wasn't, but you get that thought. It could be, a guy hunting season, no orange. And this is state land. You're required to have orange on, and just dark from the bottom of his feet all the way up. And he got out in the pines are only this big around, but the way the row was, I could see two trees at once. So I'm looking at a fairly wide section of pine. When he got behind it, he just gone. And I walked around and looked, tried to find tracks, and it's got some grass and stuff growing there. And there wasn't no tracks, but he was nowhere to be seen. And I eased out. And if he had stopped, I would have been at closest point, probably 50 yards from him. And he wasn't there. But then it started, the thought hit me that what if he is there? And he's laying down, he's got some stuff where he's covered up. Or what if he had the ability to go invisible, or just to, absorb the colors around him, to where, a normal eyesight, like a human eyesight, wouldn't be able to pick him out without really searching. And when that thought hit my mind, that was it. Chills flooded my body, and I backtracked and got out. But who knows? I mean, if they can cloak like that, we've heard that jibber jabber, that language that they talk. We've heard the laughter. We've heard all of it. Most of us.
Yeah, the mind speak stuff, all that.
Yeah, and who says they can't? If they can cloak, they talk. So they certainly must have the ability to whisper, I would imagine. And it's very possible. Whatever the whisper was, I heard it 3 times, 3 different areas, but it all on our property that we have, but 3 different parts of the property. One of them, I was in a ladder stand, 15 foot off the ground in a tree. There's no limbs except maybe 30 feet above me. Further up the tree, it's a pine tree. And I heard whispering behind me, like right there beside me. And I stood up and spun around. Daytime, there's nothing. I could see 70, 80 yards in all directions. There's nothing there. And just spooky. Where's it coming from?
Right.
It's not coming out of the tree. I wouldn't imagine, but and things are getting weird. They're getting really, really weird. And I don't want another encounter. I'd be tickled pink if I never had one at all. I enjoy finding the signs that where they've been, where they're breaking stuff and they're taking trees, full length trees, and laying them across the limbs of other trees, stuff way too large for mankind to do. I enjoy finding that stuff, but I don't want to find them. I don't want to, I got such a fear of them. I don't want to come across one.
Yeah, well, I don't blame you, man.
It's not my field. I'm not a researcher.
Well, I mean, I don't think anybody who had the encounter that you had back in Mariana, is that where it was, right? Mariana?
Yeah, Mariana.
Anybody who had an encounter like that, to me, to this day, still, that is the most absolutely terrifying thing I've ever heard in the cryptid world. I mean, that was just, terrifying.
I still think if it weren't for my friend being in the car, flashing the lights and the horn at him, I believe he would have killed me.
I hate to say it, but I mean, to get that close.
I was too scared to pull the trigger. And I had a 7 short mag, very hot bullet. I mean, they are scooting when they come out. And
yeah, sure.
You shoot a deer in the shoulder with them. It's got a hole in the opposite side. I mean, it'll blow the whole shoulder off.
Right.
And I knew I didn't have enough gun. I mean, there's no way it wouldn't have done it. I don't think it would have penetrated him very far, but he was right there. I mean, just if I would have extended my arm, I could have poked him in the chest without ever straightening my elbow. He was right there on top of me. And the way I was twisted, the barrel, the muzzle was pointed like right at his shoulder area, his right shoulder area. And all I had to do was squeeze the trigger. Safety was off. My finger was in the trigger well, and I was too scared to pull the trigger. And
it's like you said, though, what would it have done, even if you did pull the trigger? It would have just made it more angry.
Yeah, it's just them. I've shot wild pigs with that same gun before, and a pig is a tough character. I mean, they are built like a steel anvil. And if you don't hit a wild pig right, you can shoot him again next year. Yeah. They survive.
Yep.
We found, full length, not an entire arrow, but 18 inches of arrow in a pig with a broadhead still on it and just all cut up on the inside. And he would heel over and not even have a scar on him. And almost every pig that I've harvested off Choctahatchee River, I mean, almost every one of them, even the small ones, had bullets in them that were healed up. 30 caliber bullets like the 308 or 30-06, they had big bullets in them. 12 gauge slugs, 20 gauge slugs, all kind of stuff, and they heal up, and it's crazy. And something that small could take like a 12 gauge slug and, in the vitals and survive. What's something as big as these things? A rifle bullet, 7mm is like a 28 caliber. It's a little bitty bullet. Even at the speed they're going, they got a soft lead tip. They're designed to mushroom out when they hit soft tissue, like on a deer. And that's what they're designed for. What's going to happen when you hit something that big, that dense? I don't think it's going to get past the rib cage.
No.
And then you're in trouble. You poked a hole in
Oh.
him, and and I couldn't have shot him.
Yeah, and then you described we talked the other day, and you were talking about how you can't, still to this day, it's very hard for you to get out the image of the pores
Yeah,
on its
on his
skin
skin.
because they were so big.
Yeah, they looked to be the size of the lead of a pencil, number 2 pencil. If you were to take a piece of the lead out, a section of it, how thick the lead is, that was how big around the pores were, where his hair follicles would come out. He had a lot of bare areas around his chest, but you could see all the follicles, and they were spaced like that far apart. And when looking at it, it immediately reminded me of a steel, like a sheet of steel with rivets punched into it that were drawn real tight where it kind of sucked the metal in a little bit. That's the way his skin looked.
That's so crazy.
But it just seeing it gave the impression that it was bulletproof. That was like what registered in my mind. There's not a lot that's going to get through that. And that's what, in my mind is I'm running all this through, and you couldn't have paid me to shoot him. Not at that distance. If he would have been out 100 yards and I was in a vehicle, I probably would. Well, I'm saying that if he's looking at me, I don't think I could.
Carson's saying something that I believe. I think this is something that they can do. He says, "Awesome encounter. It would not let you pull the trigger. Its choice, not yours." My opinion. I believe that too. I think that they have this ability where they can either fill you with so much fear that you just cannot function in that moment the way that you normally would, or they can literally.
I was shut down.
Yeah.
I couldn't run, and I can't run physically. I can't due to injuries, but even if I could, I wouldn't have been able to. I mean, there was what he was projecting on me. I felt like I was encaged in a bubble, and I couldn't move. I felt like I was just anchored to the ground, and my only choice was to sit there and take whatever he was going to dish out. And I mean, there's nothing you can do. I had a buck knife on my side. I had a buck pocket knife in my pocket, and I got a rifle in my arms, safety off, finger on the trigger, and I was seriously outgunned.
Yeah.
And there's no way, if he were 1,000 yards from me and I had any high power rifle with a full magazine, if I'm on the ground with him, I am not pulling the trigger, because he's going to get to you. By the time you shoot all your rounds, he's on top of you.
Yeah, yeah.
And now he's mad. And if you can put one in his forehead, or if you could shut him down, if you could get into his brain with something. And Jeff had hooked me up with some extended magazines for my 10mm and some buffalo bore hardened alloy bullets that, they'll go through an engine block. And I told him, when I'm out in the woods, I have those with me.
Mm.
And if I get if I run into one and I think that he's going to attack me, I will absolutely dump this magazine into his forehead. I'll put it all into his head. I know these are probably punched through, but I don't want to. I would rather, him go about his business and me to get away. But I'm not gung-ho about shooting them. I have no intention of shooting one. I've had several run-ins in the field. Almost everyone I've ever had, I was armed. Probably 98% of the run-ins I've had with them, I was armed, and pretty heavily armed. And I've never even aimed at them. I never drew on them. And it's hard to want to shoot them when if you see one that's not making these expressions at you, it's like you're looking at your neighbor.
Yeah.
That there's a lot of wisdom when you see them in the face and the eyes. They just look extremely wise, like an old man that's, been around the block and has been a farmer his whole life and grew crops and raised cattle and done it all. I mean, that's what you're looking at. And it would be really hard to just shoot one to shoot it. And I couldn't do it. I mean, he would have to be bearing down on me with, focused on taking my life before I'd squeeze the trigger. And after what I've learned and I've been through and where I'm at today, with the exception of being in a situation like I was in Mariana that night, if I got a little distance between me and him and he's coming at me, yes, I would absolutely pull the trigger on him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if he's right up on me, I'm going to try to be as nice as I could, hopefully de-escalate it to where, one of us can walk away so we both, get home feeling all right.
Give him a little cuddle.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'll send him over to cuddle with Jeff.
Yeah.
As long as it's that way, a little further away from me.
I remember you said last time when you were here, you said you were out there with Carrie, and you were like, I'm 5'9", and I come up to about here on Carrie. Carrie's a big man, and you said, when you're out there with Carrie, you feel a little bit better if these things are around because they can have Carrie.
Yeah, and Jeff's the same way. Jeff's a big dude.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Jeff ain't small. He's a mountain.
Okay, I didn't know that.
When we went out, the first time Jeff went out in the woods with me, we were just behind the house here a couple of miles, and we went in, and we ended up. That was crazy, but the first thing we'd run into was one of these werewolf things, and it wasn't big. If it would have been standing up, probably between 4 and 5 foot tall. It wasn't real big, but it was squatted down. We were, 18 foot from it. It was right there. With Jeff was armed with a long arm. I mean, he had several firearms on him, but he's got this rifle with a 30 round mag in it. And he's standing there and he's aiming at this thing. And he said, "You move, I'll take top of your head off." Jeff was locked on him. And I was trying to film it. And it was so strange because we were looking right at it. I mean, it's right there in front of me. And filming it on the display, everything's clear, but it's blurred. Like this, it looked like a dog, but like a black coyote or German shepherd or wolf. It had that, the pointed ears, the whole look. And he was looking at us and look at Jeff and then look at me, and it was trying to lower down further. And we could see the whole body. He was right there on the ground, right up against a little pine tree. But there was no feeling that we were in danger off of this thing. There was no bad feelings that it was mad at us, it was going to hurt us. There was none of that. It was just very strange to see it and to understand that it was real. And it's right there. It's right there in front of us. And when we left there, I told Jeff, I said, "Man, I don't feel good. I don't want to be here. I'm going to go back by the little lake, which is like a knee-deep water hole." And he said, "You go down by the lake, and I'm going to make sure this thing don't follow you." So I'm backing down by the lake. Jeff's still standing there. He ain't moved. He's got that rifle trained on it, and he's just, staring at him like that. And well, this thing was watching me, and it was like it forgot Jeff was there. Well, as I'm walking away, it starts rising up like it's going to stand up, and I don't know if it was going to come at me or what it was doing, but it started rising up. And then it either sensed Jeff or remembered Jeff being there. And it ended up, dropping real fast down and looking at Jeff and trying to get to the point it was laid on the ground. But he knew he was in trouble. And Jeff was saying, I couldn't hear him. I could hear Jeff talking, saying something to him, but I couldn't make out what he said. But he told me later at the truck, he told that thing, you move, I'm going to fill you full of holes. And it stayed there. But Jeff backed out, and he comes right there where I'm at. I was only 30 or 40 feet from him. Jeff comes over there, and it started getting dark on us, and we started getting whistles like from all around us. We were being whistled at, and it got dark so fast on us. And then you could hear the footfall. I mean, we were getting surrounded. These things, what I believe were Sasquatch, were surrounding us. And we're trying to get out to the truck, and they're whistling back and forth. And then you hear them moving through the bush. I mean, moving fast, like shaking the ground fast. And
oh yeah,
I felt like there was eyes on me. And I told Jeff, I said, man, it feels like we're being watched, like from behind. I knew we were being watched because all this stuff was in front of us, to our sides and in front of us. But I felt like something was behind me. And I kept turning, and I didn't see nothing. But it got so overwhelming, that sensation of being watched, I just stopped and I spun around where I could see. And at the end of the little lake area, there's a tree and then like some brush out here, a pretty large opening. And we were going to go around it to the other side of the lake, and we decided not to because it's pretty wet. But it's open right there. And there's this gigantic black figure standing there right next to that tree, and it's doing this shaking side to side. And I told Jeff, I said, man, it looks like a Sasquatch down there. And I tried to zoom in. Well, he's got the binoculars and a scope on that rifle, and he zoomed in, and he said, man, that thing's like 11 foot tall. And it was down there, and it had a real nasty expression on its face looking right at us. And Jeff believes that werewolf thing was either in cahoots with these creatures and called them in, or something happened, because they showed up fast. They showed up real fast. And
how big was that wolf thing?
It wasn't that big.
No.
Probably, if I were to guess, I'd say between 4 and 5 foot if it were to be standing up all the way. But it was squatted way down. And when we eased up on it, getting closer, Jeff had that rifle on it. And we got really close to it, and it really lowered down to the ground. And it had I was telling Jeff, I could see it in the camera, but it was blurred. But I could see the pointed ears. I said, look, it's got pointed ears like a bat. But then I couldn't see over the bush. There was a bush in front of me, and Jeff's he's real tall. He's a big guy. Well, the brush is like right here on me, and it was right on the other side of it, so I couldn't see it. But I could see it through the screen of the camera. I had it up filming. I was looking at the screen. I said, man, it's got ears like a bat. Well, he eased around that bush, and then he's got a full view on it. And that's when he said, we need to get out of here. I'll kill this thing if it moves. But it was strange. That was the first time I had run into one of those, the werewolf things.
Yeah.
We've seen what I think was one in Caryville, actually, in the swamp. And it come running out of the palmettos up this ridge. I mean, 70, 80 yards on 2 feet, all the way up and then down the back side of it. But that was small. It looked like just a full-grown, medium-sized German Shepherd. It was like that size, but standing on the 2 legs, and had his paws, his arms were out at his side, but his paws like kind of hung down like that. And he didn't do this run. They stayed just like that. And the only thing that moved was his back feet. And he just ran on 2 feet up the hill and down the other side.
Those back legs, were they bent like a dog leg? A dog leg is bent weird.
Yeah, the one that ran up the hill, it looked like a dog.
Okay.
Like a coyote, a dark coyote is all it looked like. The one that Jeff and I run into, you could see the back legs, but it was squatted way down. It was just like thigh, and it was all covered in hair, black hair. But it never stood up fully where you could actually see the shape of the leg. It never stood up all the way.
Gotcha.
It didn't start standing up until I started going back toward the lake. And then that's when it started to stand up. And Jeff sitting right there took the safety off or something, but it realized Jeff was still there. He wasn't with me. And that's when it dropped to the ground real fast. Yeah, it's just it's a strange area, and that spot where that happened, that whole area is ate up with Native American history. And I mean, it's just right here. It ain't far. You could ride a bicycle to it. It'd take you 10, 15 minutes to get there.
Right.
Maybe 20 minutes. It's I think it's 3 miles down the highway, and then you turn and go up into the woods. It's close. Yeah, that's what Jeff's talking about, the buffalo boar hard cast. That's the bullets that he got me.
Yeah.
Guaranteed to penetrate 48 inches of solid, dense muscle and bone. Yeah, I think those
nasty thing.
Yeah, those may punch a hole in it.
Maybe.
7 variants of Dogman. Whoa.
Slightly different tracks. Hard to identify the tracks. It's true. Those tracks you showed me the other day when I read this comment, it was the first thing I thought was, man, maybe if there's 7 variants and the tracks are slightly different.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if it'll show up on. Let me see if it may show up on the camera.
Real quick, while you're doing that, there's a few questions. Bernie wants to know: could Donnie discern any intention from the whispering he heard? Did it seem benign or overly hostile and menacing?
No, there wasn't any. There was no bad feeling at all. I could not understand it. I don't know if it was English. It was loud, but it was almost like it was sounds, not words, but like sounds. But it was whispering. It was definitely whispering, and it didn't cause me to receive any type of intent from it, any type of weird intention. It's just hearing it scared me.
Yeah.
And, I've dealt with the paranormal. I lived in a house that was severely haunted, and we've heard whispers, and it's different. If you hear one in your home, it's not the same. In the house, you hear them, it's like, what? No, it's probably a ghost, and you move on. I mean, it gives you the chills. It kind of give you the heebie-jeebies. But out when you're in the woods and hear them, it's scary.
Yeah, totally different story.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It's strange, but no, there was no bad intent, no bad feeling or anything. This ain't very clear. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see it or not. But this is one of the tracks. Let me see if I can turn this so it doesn't catch the.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, those are my motorcycle riding glasses. So they're almost like goggles. And it's a canine track, a huge and
giant pad.
Yeah, it was a big pad.
The toes look squared off.
This one right here was it kind of sunk. Let me cover up that light. I don't know if can you make it out? That one's kind of smashed in the ground. And they were huge. I mean, these tracks were like that big, and it was a dog or a cat track, but whatever it was big. And I looked for a heel because we had some bears over there on the property, but the back feet on the bear, it looks like a human footprint when you catch them where they leave the whole track. And this went up the sand road right there where Mark and Carrie camped. It come out right there, went all the way up the road. So I had 40 to 45 different prints, and there was no heel. All 4 feet were like a very large dog's foot, all 4 of them, but there wasn't any nail impressions. So I don't know, a big cat. Someone had told me possibly a bipedal dog because of how they stand, the claws wouldn't really be in the dirt, but I don't know. I have no idea. I wish they did.
Possible. It's possible.
Oh, there's Patrick.
Yeah, Patrick's here.
Yeah, awesome. I just happened to see his name pop up. God bless you.
Glenn had a question too, and then Janelle, and then we'll get to something else.
Yeah.
Real quick, Donnie, why do you think this is regarding your encounter in Mariana? Donnie, why do you think he was that close to you? Did you do something that pissed him off somehow?
I don't know.
Just wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, that when we got there, I had to go check the hog trap. We had traps all over that property, and we had a contract with the farmer, the landowner, to remove the wild pigs that were destroying the crop. And I couldn't get nobody to go with me, so I got a friend of mine, and I said, "Look, would you ride with me? You can drive. Stay in the car in the AC. I'll get out. I'll walk down the 2 trail across the big field, check the trap, and I'll be back, and we'll go home." She agreed, and so I crossed the first little peanut field, and then I went down that 2 trail as far as I can go with that Toyota Tercel.
I bet you that was the last time she ever agreed to go anywhere with you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, it's true. I only seen her a couple times after that. She wouldn't even talk about it. But she's seen it, because she described to me what it was, and she started cussing and raising Cain, telling me to run. But
yeah,
as soon as I left the car, I wasn't maybe 30 feet, I guess, in front of the car, and I was walking down that 2 trail, and on my left side, I could hear something walking, bipedal footprints, footsteps, paralleling me. And so I stopped, and it stopped, but it took one extra step. So, I'd stop, and I hear that crunch, and it stopped. And I start walking again, it would start walking. And it done this all the way down the that little trail, that 2 trail, and it's probably 100 yards long. On the way back, after I checked the trap, it stayed on that same side. It was the left side as I was going in. And when I come back, he was on my right side now. I thought maybe a pig, the deer. There's so many animals on that property. And I start coming down, and he started that walking, but he was coming. I could tell he was definitely, as I'm walking to the car, he's coming like angling. He's going to cut me off. And he stepped out of the brush just right behind me. And he stepped out and started stomping the ground. I froze as soon as he stepped out, because I could smell him. He was growling. I thought it was a bear. And he was stomping the ground, and finally got the nerve up to turn around, because I thought he was about 20 feet from me. And I can get turned around and shoot him, because between me and the bear, he's the one getting shot if it comes down to it. And well, as soon as I got turned around where I couldn't see the peanuts. It was that night, but we had a big moon, so the peanuts were lime green. They were bright green, and I couldn't see them. And I thought I was fainting. I thought I was starting to black out. And then he growled, and I realized that the growling, was coming from that way. It wasn't coming from down the road. It was up. And I leaned back, and my headlamp kind of hit him up in his upper chest, but it lit his face. It lit his whole body up, and he was. But the end of his feet, the end of his toes to the end of my boot was probably around 28 inches to 30 inches. I mean, he was right there. And he'd swing his fist at, and the wind was just hitting me in the face coming off his hands when he'd swing him down, stomp his foot. And every time he'd growl at me and snarl, he was spitting all over my face, all over the side of my head. And but there was nothing in the trap. I wasn't taking his food from him. I didn't run into anything else. So I don't know. I don't know why he was so mad at me.
Could have just been one of those rogue ones, that they talk about. That are just mean and nasty.
Yeah, very possible. One of the guys that hunted that property with us to eradicate the pig problem, under that field, the field that's got the pig trap in it, he found an underground. There's caves and caverns all over out there. and he found a cave that went under that field, and he said the whole field, there's a lake under the ground. But he went down there, and there's bones piled up in the entrance of the cave.
Oh,
As you get down to where it levels off, and that big lake is there. And he said they're in organized piles. There's real small bones in one pile, then medium bones, and then large bones. And that lake had like a walkway around it, in the rock, where something's been traveling around that underground lake. And he's got a super bright spotlight on his rifle, and he shined it out, and he said he couldn't see the other side of it. And that 600 yards across the one field where he hunts, he could light the trees up on the other side with that light. And he said he couldn't see the other side. But we believe, because everybody that hunted that property ran into this thing. I was the last one, and nobody ever told me. And I didn't find out until years later, which was just a couple of years ago, that they all ran into it too. And that's why they quit going out there. But nobody told me. I was going out there alone, because everybody, they got to work, got to be up in the morning, or they always had excuses why they couldn't go. So I was going by myself at night, 1, 2 in the morning out there, and hearing the howls, and always thought it was just a bunch of people living in the woods partying. But yeah, that was it. After that night, I left all my gear, left everything I had out there, and never went back. I was done with that.
You can understand probably more now why, though, they didn't say anything to you, because until you have that encounter, if you're not a believer, people aren't. I mean, let's face it. The majority of people, when they do these polls, do you believe in Bigfoot? Most people say no. So
yeah,
when something like this happens, what do you say? You go to your friend and you say, don't go in them woods. There's a 10-foot tall, 1,500-pound hairy monster out there. Don't go in the woods. And people are going to go, you take your meds today?
They got, of all the guys that were there, all of them but one, there was 7 or 8 of us that worked those fields, that property. One of them didn't know me that well, but all the rest of them know me, and they know about a lot of the weird stuff that's happened to me, that I've been through. And they know that if they would have told me, I would have, I wouldn't have never told him, oh, you're full of it, or you're high or drunk. I wouldn't never said that to him. But even if I didn't believe, I would still have agreed with him. Oh yeah, you seen that? Oh man, I don't want to go out there. I've always been like that, and they know me with the weird stuff that I've seen and that has happened to me. If they would have told me they were running out of the woods by them, I would have believed them.
Right.
I would have probably sought after it to see it for myself, but I would have believed that, yeah, absolutely, you've seen something big and scary.
Yeah. Well, that's different. I didn't know that they knew about the weird stuff that had happened to you.
Yeah, all of them but one. One of the guys, I've only known him about a year, but the only time I see him is when we're on the river hunting. And he worked, one of the guys, Brian, that was out there with us, he was an apprentice under Brian. And that's how he ended up, coming to our camp and then going out there and becoming part of that with us, eradicating them pigs. I didn't know him real well, but all the rest of them I did,
Gotcha.
Years and years of time with them. And that they know of a lot of the stuff that's happened to me.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, it makes it a little different then. One more question, I promise. This is it. Then we'll save the rest for the end. Guys, if you have more questions, please put them in all caps, and I'll try to get to them. There's a lot of people here tonight, so it's going to be difficult to get to everything. Please don't get upset with me. I'm doing my best. It's easier when you have a co-host. It's difficult when you're by yourself.
Yes.
So Janelle wants to know, did either you or Jeff feel any vibration on your body when you were near the Sasquatch or the dog man?
The Sasquatch, yes. But not that dog man werewolf thing. I didn't feel anything at all from him. It was actually, it was peaceful over there, but it was just, for me, it was scary. I've heard about them, but to actually see one that close and for it to sink in that, hey, this stuff is real. What people are claiming to see, they are absolutely seeing, and now we're seeing it. It's right here. But no, there wasn't anything negative or any type of vibe off of that Dogman thing. But when we started getting surrounded by them, and they were whistling back and forth, and then the stomping, and there was growling, it got pretty wild. It was after, when we seen the big one that came out behind us, we took off trying to get to the truck. And once we got a little closer to the truck, up near where the dirt road is, that's when it just felt like a static charge, like over your whole body, like every hair and every follicle on our body was standing on end. It was a really weird feeling. The feeling that it's a sensation that you're in the wrong place and you got to go, like something bad, like electrocution is about to happen. It was weird. Yeah, that was it. Only from the hairy guys.
That to me just speaks to the whole energy thing, right? When you get into an area where you're close to one of these beings, these creatures, these whatever you want to call them, whatever your belief is, and you have that reaction where the hair just stands on end, you feel electrically charged. That speaks to this whole theory about the energy.
Yeah, you could feel it in the air. The actual atmosphere was charged.
Yeah,
it was wild. But it wasn't until we got, we was probably, I would say 50 yards from the truck, but we were still in some pretty thick stuff. We were under the canopy. The tree canopy was real dense, but there was a lot of thick growth all around us. We were in the open.
Yeah.
But we still had to go in and out of the trees. But when we got to that point, and the whistling, the gargling, the growling, all those different sounds, the foot stomps, the limb breaks, it was all around us. I mean, every direction around us. That's when it got charged up, was when we was in that. And that was frightening. That was real frightening.
Oh, I'm sure it was. So anyway, you got something you want to read?
We can do that if you want. This one, let me get the paper clips off of it. I leave all the clips on them until I read them so that I can keep them sorted. Let me see, because this one has pictures with it too.
Okay.
And for those that weren't here earlier when I was saying it, our brother Don Moore, he's here right now. He's the one that provides all of this material for us, these articles. He does the research. He gets everything printed up. A lot of the stuff that he has sent to us, he'll take off an audio file, whether it be a podcast or something, and he will, transcribe, where he'll listen and put it to paper, and then he'll put it in the computer, type it up. And I mean, he's put a lot of work into this, and I just want to make sure he gets full credit for that.
Well, that's amazing. I remember you telling me that way back when I first started. You said, man, Don does so much work for me, man. All those articles I read, he does all this research. It's amazing.
Yeah, he is.
Thank you, Don.
Certainly put in a ton of time. Yeah, this one looks a lot different than any of the others that I've done. It does have a lot of pictures with it. And what we'll do, I'll show you the pictures as we go. And this one, these are articles. A lot of they're taken out of just different areas, out of books, out of old newspapers. And see, this is part 1 of 2. Let me make sure I've got, because I thought I've seen the section 4, the part 2. If it's not here, I thought I'd seen it though. If it's not here, we'll just, when you get time in the near future, when I get it, then we can do the part 2 then. But I thought I'd seen it. Maybe I didn't. That'll be all right. It'll work. Everything he sent has been extremely interesting. But if you're ready, if you want me to
go ahead.
read this, I'll certainly go with it.
Let's do it.
All right. This is titled An Incredible Bigfoot Experience from Lower Michigan. It's Randy's story. The year is September of 1977. The location is...
Hold on one second. I think I know this story. If it's the man that I think it is, he was on the show.
Really?
But go ahead. Because this is if it's the same story, it's incredible. Incredible.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard it.
Go ahead.
Let's see. Lower Michigan, the information source for the article is multiple eyewitness testimony, including an autopsy, police sightings and shooting of one of the creatures, photos, local TV news segments of a missing child, National Guard presence with investigation, and Men in Black harassment, which included confiscation of evidence.
Yep. This is it.
Is that it?
Yeah, this is it. This is one of the most incredible, amazing experiences I've ever heard in my life. Well, I heard this on somebody else's channel like 2 or 3 years ago. And the moment I heard it, I was like, I have got to hear that. I've got to talk to this guy at some point. Before I ever had a channel, I got to talk to this man. And then when I got the channel, I said, now I got to find him. And I did. I searched him out and I found him. We had him on the show, man. It's incredible. Awesome. Incredible.
Awesome. You haven't, I have not heard this one.
Oh, Don's asking me, am I sure I want to repeat this? It's such a great story. Oh, man, I feel bad. I don't want you to have to not read it, but it's because it's such a good story. I'm trying to think if...
Do you want me to read it?
Oh, man. It's so good. Janelle's saying yes. It's so good, man. It's just so good. And I don't know if everybody here has heard it.
A lot of this is pictures. There's a lot of pictures in here. So all of that is not, the actual article. It's got a lot of pictures with it.
Cryptics with Bobby saying read it. I say do it, man. Just go for it.
All right. We'll do it. Thank you. And thank you, Don. All right. The preface reads, the story you're about to hear may be disturbing or too much for some to hear, but one thing is for certain. This is Randy's truth, and there's no doubt about that. There are two distinct possibilities. The witness is crazy, or it really happened. After hearing the events, details, and the reliability of Randy, one can easily come to the conclusion that this really happened. If anything is gained, it is a better understanding of these creatures and the nature of their existence. The events occurred in 1977 when Randy was 10 years old. It begins with a bike ride and a discovery. It all began with a bike ride. Randy and his friend Mike, who he had met at a Wednesday church event, wanted to bike into the woods to play after getting bored around the house. Randy loved to be in the woods. It was August, so school would be starting soon, and they wanted to utilize what little freedom they had left. In the woods, by the lake, they found a strange network of bushes. They were hollowed out, and some of them were so tall inside that Randy and his friend could almost stand straight up. And it was like a maze of rooms. The tops of the bushes were very thick with vines. The tunnel-like bushes had a central room where they found tattered blankets, shiny things attached to the walls, and pictures. Interestingly, Randy noticed the pictures were the kind that come in new picture frames, stock photos. Not thinking much of it, other than it was cool and maybe a homeless person lived there, they continued with their day. And there's just a artist depiction of Randy and his friend Mike. Let me see if I can get this up. Kind of hard to see.
Yeah, he draws all these.
Randy did?
Randy draws all this.
Wow.
Yeah, he's very talented. He's working on a book right now. Matter of fact, I have a picture. I have like the actual camera picture from this story that I will show
Wow.
when
And
you're reading it.
by the lake, Randy and Mike find a network, and there's where the drawing of them finding the tunnel, the hollowed out bushes.
So neat.
Inside the bushes are rooms thick with vines, and they find tattered blankets, shiny objects, and picture frames attached to the walls. Randy and Mike assume a homeless person lives there. I'm making sure I got that in frame. Oh, sorry.
So cool, man.
Can't believe
This is one of my favorites ever. It should be a movie.
it's the first time I'm hearing about it.
Oh, Donnie.
Okay. An abduction in the night. Then they came upon two other boys, Russell and Mike, near a tree where steps were being attached, but the work had not been finished. So now it's a group of four. Randy's friend Mike, Russell, and Russell's friend, another second Mike, with Russell being a few years older than the other three. Mike and Russell were there fishing and camping for the night, and Randy and his friend Mike, after making friends, decided to join them. So Randy and his friend went back home, which was about 3 miles, and got some sleeping bags and a tent. It took a while to leave because they had to wait for Mike's mom to arrive home. When they came back, the sun had set. It was around 9 or 10 p.m., and it got dark when they arrived. After doing a loop in the trail, they were unable to find Mike and Russell's camp in the dark, so they set up their own little camp with their tent and sleeping bags. About an hour later, after they had got settled, they heard the older boy, Russell, yelling for his friend Mike over and over again, "Mike, Mike!" Little did Randy and his friend know what had just happened over at the other boy's campsite, but they were about to find out. They started to hear growls and screams, and according to Randy, these noises could not have come from any human. They were so frightened by the growls and screams that they got on their bikes and left, leaving all their tinning stuff there. They got back home before 11:30 p.m., and Randy's parents were still watching TV. And Randy told his parents what happened, and they laughed. His dad said he knew the boys would chicken out, and, well, you boys would just have to ride back in the morning and get your stuff. The next morning, they set out to get their tent and sleeping bags, which they had abandoned the night before, and what they found was quite a scene. At a nearby street corner, the older boy, Russell, was talking to a local news channel about a hairy bum taking his friend while police and search crews were present. Randy and his friend Mike were not allowed into the vicinity where they had left their stuff. Mike had gone missing, but would be found 24 hours later, and he would never speak about what had happened to him in those woods. However, a recently hired school bus driver was blamed for wandering the woods and abducting Mike and was put in jail. That's what everybody thought happened until about a week later. Randy and his friend had to talk to police also, and then a Native American by the name of John R. went in and brought back Randy and his friend's tinning stuff and took a report down from them. This would not be the last time Randy would see this man. Randy, at the time, did not put the pieces together. Little did he know that Russell and Mike's camp had been visited by a family of 3 Bigfoot, and in the campfire light, the older boy Russell watched one of the Bigfoot grab his younger friend Mike by the arm and take him into the silent darkness of the woods. By this time, the government officials knew of the Bigfoot in the area. And there's a picture of Randy and Mike where they met the other 2 boys. The artist rendering.
He's so good. He's just so good.
I can't believe he drew all these.
Yeah, he's working on a book right now, like a full book.
He's really talented.
Very talented.
Later at night, the other boys' campsite is visited by the 3 Bigfoot, and Russell watches the other Mike get abducted. And there's the picture for that one.
So
That's
cool.
crazy, isn't it?
It's so good, man.
He's got talent, sure.
Very, yeah, he's got a lot
And
of
this
talent.
is Randy and Mike hear the growls and screams, and the other older boy, Russell, calling for his friend Mike in the darkness of the woods.
Gosh, I wish I could draw that good.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, there's no way I could I could draw like that.
No.
There's no way. It's awesome that he's added these depictions with it. Returning the next morning, Randy and Mike return to get their abandoned camping gear and see the older boy Russell talking to the news channel about his friend Mike being taken by a hairy bum. Police and search teams are everywhere. The boy Mike would be found 24 hours later, but wouldn't talk about his abduction. And there's the picture on that one. I'm trying to set it where maybe you could read it.
So neat.
That guy is really good, isn't he?
So good.
And it's crazy. I wish I could draw like that. All right. More weird events. A few days later, after this incident, and just one day before Mike, the Bigfoot, would reveal himself in Tim's cornfield. Randy believes that he and two other friends spent all afternoon chasing what they thought was a dog, but wasn't a dog. A neighbor's brown husky had gotten loose. He was being chased by Mike, the Bigfoot, actually. And they thought this was yet another loose dog they were chasing after seeing what they thought was a brown dog peering at them from behind some bushes and then taking off on all fours. According to Randy, these creatures are just as comfortable on four legs as they are two legs, and in particular, the young ones. They chased it back and forth across the road several times and up a creek before losing all sight of it. All they thought was, where did that dog go? Looking back, Randy believes it climbed up a tree and hid from them. And there's the picture of them chasing their supposed dog, Mike the Bigfoot.
Mike the Bigfoot. It's so cool, man. The thing about this, right? We had Randy on the show. When he tells this experience, the level of detail that he talks about, there's just no way this is made up. I know it seems so incredible to some people, but there's no way you make up a story like this. And then he's got pictures to back it up. Wait till you see the picture I got. Remember, it's 1977. Not the greatest camera, not the best lighting, and we know we know what happens. You try to take pictures of these things, but I'm telling you right now, when you look at the picture, you can see. I'll post it in a little bit when we get to the point. It's crazy.
Randy eventually realizes Bigfoot moved fast on all fours. Yeah.
Sure do. Look at that.
That is crazy. They were built to move on all fours.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just, I've always wondered, who created them? Was it the God that created us? I don't know. A lot of unanswered questions. But hey, he made dinosaurs and wiped them out because they weren't right, I guess.
Yeah, right. Looks like we're going to be wiped out too because we ain't right.
Yeah, that's the truth. I think we're one of the worst creation. We're the only life force on the planet that kill each other. We kill ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's horrible.
Yep.
All right. Randy's friend Tim's pet orangutan. One of Randy's friends named Tim, who lived a mile away, which was the closest house where Randy lived, stopped socializing, and Randy thought this was strange. So one day at school, Randy asked Tim why he hadn't been around. Tim said he'd been busy with his pet orangutan, leading to Randy thinking his friend had gone crazy. So the very next day, after the dog chasing incident, it was Saturday, and Randy walked the mile to Tim's house to see if he wanted to play. Tim had opted to stay home instead of going with his family for school supplies and eating out. Tim wasn't in the house, but the babysitter said Tim was in the cornfield playing with that troll-looking thing, which she said she could see it occasionally peek its head out. The babysitter believed it was an escaped orangutan also. There was a row of trees separating Tim's house and the cornfield, which was only 50 feet from the house. So he went out back and found Tim sitting on a ball right beside the cornfield with all of his toys scattered around, his trucks, dolls, etc. Randy did not expect to see any troll, of course, until he did see a face. Tim said he was just here and informed Randy that the creature's name was Mike and that the creature could say his own name. Looking back, Randy now believes the juvenile Bigfoot learned the word Mike when people were shouting for the abducted boy, the human Mike, in the woods a few weeks earlier. Tim also said the orangutan doesn't like clothes, which is why Tim had taken his off except for his underwear, because Mike the Bigfoot had been pulling on his clothes and Tim had been reading about how orangutans don't like clothes. Tim said he's real friendly and he's only about 4 or 5 feet tall. Excuse me. Mike the Bigfoot steps out and Randy believes. Randy still remains skeptical of his friend for a time and waited a few minutes until Mike the Bigfoot sheepishly peered out and then stepped out of the corn and grabbed Tim's arm as if to pull him into the cornfield. Tim was not alarmed by this, but playfully said, "Knock it off, Mike. What are you doing?" Then Mike the Bigfoot looked at Randy and walked over and gave Randy a hug like he knew him, and it nearly took the air out of him due to his strength. Randy learned that Mike the Bigfoot could indeed say his own name, but according to Randy, it sounded much like a burp. After Tim started rolling the toys towards Mike, including the ball he had been sitting on, Mike the Bigfoot hit the ball so hard in the trees that it popped. And Tim thought that was funny. The Bigfoot seemed to not understand the concept of what to do with these things that were being rolled to him. As soon as Mike heard a sound in the cornfield, he disappeared. It's important to realize that this time, the two 10-year-olds still believed this was an escaped orangutan, and they played with Mike the Bigfoot for hours. Sometimes Mike the Bigfoot would retreat into the corn and mimic the boys, and the creature liked to say his own name because Randy and Tim found it funny, and the boys would laugh, which the creature seemed to enjoy. Randy told Tim they needed to tell someone about this when the babysitter said the food was ready, so Tim put his clothes back on and they went inside and ate a little. Tim showed Randy a book about orangutans, and Randy decided he and Tim should walk back to his house and tell Randy's dad about this. On the walk back, in discussing how an orangutan could have escaped, and Tim kept saying that for days he had never hurt anyone, not even another boy. They noticed the corn stalks moving, and then Mike the Bigfoot stood up and waved at them. Randy told his dad what had happened, but he laughed at him. Later, Tim went home around dinner time. And this is Randy sees his friend's pet orangutan in the corn. That's some really, really good drawings.
Incredible, man. It's really, it's incredible. They're just so detailed. You got some babies in the background, huh?
Yeah, we got one that she stays inside.
What do you got? But you got ducks too?
Yeah. Oh yeah, the chirping, that's the baby ducks Kim hatched out.
So
you got a little heat lamp and a tub over here. That's where they're at.
Oh, that's too cute.
The juvenile Bigfoot steps out of the corn and tries to pull Randy's friend Tim into the corn. Randy assists his friend.
You're lucky that thing didn't snatch them both up.
Pulled his arm off.
Right.
The Bigfoot gives Randy a very strong hug and takes his breath away. And Tim thinks this is funny. And there's the...
Look at those pictures,
And it's crazy. I mean, his artistic ability is crazy.
Yeah, incredible.
Randy finds out how strong a Bigfoot's grip is when they play ball.
Hey, Al, what's going on, buddy? Donnie's reading a story about Randy, who was on the show. Don helped him put this together, so Donnie's reading the story right now because a lot of people here hadn't heard it, or some people wanted to hear it again. It's such an incredible story.
This is incredible. This is the juvenile Bigfoot slams the ball into the trees and busts it. He also says Mike, imitating when the older boy Russell was calling for his abducted friend, Mike. So Randy and Tim call him Mike the Bigfoot. Man, I can't get over how good his drawings are.
Yeah.
Huh? No, you can turn it on. That is wild. And this one is, as Randy and Tim leave to go home for supper, Mike the Bigfoot waves goodbye. It's crazy. And that guy is very, very talented.
Could you imagine if this happened to you? Think about that.
I don't know what I'd do.
I want everybody in the chat to think about that. Imagine if this happened to you.
He'd make a heck of a bodyguard, wouldn't he?
Yeah, right.
All right. This is Randy gets a nighttime barn visitor. Later that night, only the bionic woman was on TV, and Randy didn't want to watch it, so he went out to several barns on his property to play, as he often did. The barn has since been torn down as the tornado had taken the roof off years later. He had left some of his toys on the second level in the loft. His parents were slightly concerned there may be an escaped orangutan out there, so Randy promised to lock the doors to the second level. He was in on the hayloft for a few minutes when he heard what he thought was his dad talking to him about something, but it wasn't. It was Mike, the orangutan, and he busted through the latched door. Randy wasn't scared, but thought, "Oh, it's you." Mike went to the other side of the loft and sat there about 25 feet away. After regarding Mike hesitantly for a while, Randy and Mike began to interact. Randy was so convinced that this was an escaped pet because he was so calm, indicating that he was accustomed to interacting with people. When Randy was a kid, he had a habit of imitating noises he heard, as a lot of kids do, which led to their play activity. Randy would make a noise, and Mike the orangutan would repeat it and even elaborate on it and make it impossibly accurate. Randy said the Bigfoot sound like whatever they want to. For example, Randy would do a meow, and Mike the orangutan would meow back so that it was indistinguishable from a real cat. Even elaborating on the sound of a real cat by doing hissing sounds, making it clear that this creature understood what the sound was and what animal made it. It was during one of these hissing sounds that Randy did that he noticed Mike the orangutan's face start to give the appearance of bubbling or melting. Randy would later attribute this to infrasound, which can have a wide array of effects on whatever hears it. It is known to be produced by other large mammals. Gathering up his courage, Randy approached Mike and he pulled at Randy's shirt. Then Randy took his shirt and shoes off. There were ropes coming from the ceiling about 25 feet apart from each other, and Mike, the orangutan, and Randy played with them. And this is when Randy got a real indication of this creature's athleticism and strength. It was alarming to see how strong he was. Mike figured out how to not get tangled in the rope when he ascended up the rope to the support beam, swung around, and landed solidly on the floor. Randy had been noticing Mike's feet twitching and how agile they were, so they both pressed their feet together, and Mike pushed back so hard that Randy was pushed backwards. Playing excitedly as kids do, Randy started to beat his chest and make an ape noise like he'd seen in movies. Bad move for a human to do in the presence of a Bigfoot. And then it says, stay tuned for part 2 and the exciting conclusion. Then we got, here's some pictures. This is the barn where Randy went to play when he got an unexpected visitor. Can you see that all right?
Yeah.
What, babe?
Got a big mouth.
Kim's feeding the baby. And this is Mike the Bigfoot crashes through the hayloft door.
Can she say hi?
Yep.
Hang on. Hang on. You're not dying. Here.
That's crazy.
Here, I'm going to share that picture I got. I'll share that picture he sent me. It's really, it's pretty neat.
Oh, you got it with you right now?
Oh yeah, I'm going to pull it up on the screen.
Here, let me see her. Here's one of the babies right here.
Oh, hold on. Let me wait.
Come here. Hold on.
Oh, get the heck out of here.
I might.
Get the heck out of here.
Yeah. That's her. Yeah, we almost lost her a couple of times. She spent some time in the vet, and she's only a couple weeks old.
Oh, that is adorable.
She's gone.
It's gone.
She's gone. Hey, there ain't no more.
Look at how cute she is.
Her name is Jolly.
Charlie?
Who's that?
Jolly. As in
Jolly.
Jolly Christmas.
Yeah, Jolly, like Jolly Ranchers.
Look at her pink little nose.
Yeah, let's see if I can get her close up over there. She is.
Oh, come on, man. You can't even. Can you send that to me?
You can see if I could put her in an email.
Or a box, something. I mean,
you can fit her in a small shoebox pretty easily.
Look at that little thing, man. Oh, forget it.
A lot of weight.
Yeah, she's a pig. You like to eat, don't you?
She's adorable. That's incredible. She's adorable. I would cuddle that thing all day long. Forget it. Yo, I couldn't get anything. I wouldn't get nothing done. I'd get nothing done.
She's my cuddle buddy.
We got about 25 or 30 of them out there right now like that, but those are doing good. She's doing good now, but she wasn't doing so good a week ago.
I've become a ghost.
Well, I'm glad she's doing better. We'll send her all our love. All right, let me get this picture up real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me get this picture up.
Yeah, as soon as I get the conclusion to it, when Don sends it, I'll call you, and we can set it up, and we can share the other half of it here on Encrypted Connections.
Check that out.
Oh, wow.
So, okay, remember, everybody, 1977. Cameras are not great, right? We also know that even now with good cameras, it's very difficult to take pictures of these things.
Wow.
But when I'm looking at this, it looks like there's a hand around his neck.
Yeah.
It looks like there is something with the shape of a head. And even if you look to the left of this picture, there's a glint of brown or dark brown off that would be the left shoulder of this thing. Otherwise, it's just basically sucking in all of like the colors just being like eclipsed in this thing. But you hear this often, right?
Yeah.
When people take
You
pictures
see
of them.
how that picture looks like? I mean, you can see him, but the Bigfoot, you see how it just looks smeared.
Yeah,
That's how it was on the video when me and Jeff was out there and we had that little werewolf thing in front of me. It was like that on the video, but the leaves, the little oak tree that was beside him, the little pine sapling, all of that was crystal clear. You can see the individual pine needles, but the creature itself was like that. It was blurred. It was the strangest thing.
it's like I don't know, like all the color and light just gets sucked into them. They just absorb it all, and it makes them impossible to photograph.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean,
Wow.
I wasn't there. I can't say 100%, but when I look at that picture and I look at that drawing, to me, it seems like there's something there. I mean, he's got something hanging off of the side of his neck. I mean, what could it be? I mean, I guess it could be anything, but I don't know. I've heard this story. I've heard him tell it.
Yeah, that is wild. I mean, you can see the arm, but what's so weird, you see how he drew the face on the Bigfoot?
Yeah,
All right, look at the actual photograph. All
yeah,
right, where his, not the Bigfoot, but his shoulder is, his right shoulder, which is the left one on the picture. It looks like a face right there. Like his shoulder is right there beside the lips on it. You see? That light colored area looks like a face, kind of looking, well, the same direction he's got the drawing.
yeah,
You see
I
that?
can.
You can
I
see
do.
looks like two eyes, a nose, a very long upper lip, from the nose to the lip, and the mouth. I could see all of that.
So crazy, man. It's just crazy.
That's a little scary.
It is a little bit, And when
I
you
mean,
hear him tell this, it's very, very difficult, if not impossible, if you have an open mind, to not believe him. He just has way too many details, and there doesn't seem to be any trepidation in his voice. There doesn't seem to be any um, um, dishonesty in his voice. There just doesn't. I mean, when he talks about this, still he gets emotional.
that's crazy. I guess so.
It's just crazy. When you hear the rest of the story, if you've never heard this experience, when you hear the rest of the encounter, you'll understand why he gets emotional, because it gets very, it gets kind of traumatizing.
Oh, yeah.
Very traumatizing, actually. Very traumatizing. Yeah. Miss Amanita, I wish you stuck around if you're not here anymore. I don't know if you were talking about the people in the chat, not talking about the video. The people in the chat about the video sometimes. Sometimes they chat about some other stuff.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's just the way it goes. It's all
It's a meeting place of friends and family.
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely.
Kay, I want to know, do I have the whole picture that shows the ones in the trees? Wait, are you talking about the eyes? The two in the trees with the big eyes peeking through? Or are you talking about the whole creature? Because I have a picture that has shows him peeking through the leaves and bushes, these big giant eyes. That's all you can see, though. I have no idea, Al. I'm not sure, buddy. I'm not sure, pal. I wish I could tell you. Wish I could tell you.
I do not know how he had all this paper clipped together. I'm trying to get a clip on it. I try to keep them organized. For what?
There was the exact picture I had made bigger. Shows 2 in the trees. Oh no, I have no idea. No, this is what he sent me. He sent me that. No, he said that this was when they were at the lake and he was playing with Mike in the water when he was in the boat. He didn't say anything about there being any other ones off in the trees or in the background. Did he say that there were others back there, or like in the story or whatever? That I just don't remember.
And that was with Randy?
Yeah, Randy. Midwest Bigfoot Researchers is Randy's channel and group. It really upsets me because Randy's a good guy. And he's put a lot of work and a lot of money into his channel, buying a lot of equipment and stuff. And he wasn't getting views. And it was really discouraging to him. And so he decided that he was done. He said he's not doing YouTube anymore. At least for a while, he said. I don't know if he'll come back or not, but and he was getting a ton of ridicule too. You know how that goes. People are just terrible and mean. And
anytime you've experienced anything that is far-fetched, like the Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Dogman, aliens, any of it.
Yeah.
Those, from what I've seen, it's the people that are not open to just how crazy this life is.
Yeah.
They're not open to it. And what gets me is a lot of these people will tell you, point blank, hey, I'm Christian. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus, Yeshua. But yet they don't have time to believe in a mythical being, but they believe in a God that no one's seen.
That you can't see.
No one of today. He walked amongst people thousands of years ago, but as far as the generations alive today, nobody's seen him. But we all know he's there. You feel him, you experience him. The same thing with these things. You get out, when they're around, you feel them. Before you see them, you feel them, you smell them. Then you start hearing them, and then the movements. But it strikes me as odd. You can believe in all the supernatural stuff, but you can't believe in a physical creature, that could have these supernatural abilities, and it's strange. I don't know. I don't think I'll ever understand it, but it's all.
It's very hypocritical to me. It's very hypocritical because it's the same thing.
It's
what you just said.
Yeah. That's all it is.
You believe in something that we've never seen. No one from this time has ever seen, but we walked among the people thousands of years ago. Well, guess what? These walked among the Native Americans hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, hundreds of years ago. That's right.
Right.
Yep. They traded with them, and they had peace treaties? Is that what it was? They had with them.
They had peace. They had relationships with them. They had dinner with them. It's just the amount of thing. If the ego is what it is, and then the programming. You've been programmed to believe certain things, and then your ego makes you go, well, if I don't know it, then it ain't real, And this is what happens. Man, I promise you, if you let that ego go and you open your mind, you live in a much, much, much cooler world.
Oh, yeah. And you start experiencing these strange things,
Yes, you do.
Something as simple as the wind. You can feel it. You feel it when it hits you. You see it moving the leaves. You see it blowing the paper across the yard, but you don't see the actual wind. But all the evidence of it being there is right there.
Yeah.
And then you get out in the forest, not just Sasquatch, but all these other weird things. What happens? Your hair starts rising up on the back of your neck, and then your arms, You get a tingling sensation. Some people get a ringing in their ears. You get all these physical symptoms. Then you start hearing twigs break. You start hearing the limbs popping. You're hearing the leaf litter being stepped on. You hear the tracks coming, but there's nothing there.
The smell,
Yeah,
all
the
of it.
smell. You have all the senses except for the visual, but they don't believe in that. But yet you believe in the wind. That's the same thing. You feel it just like you do when the paranormal, the supernatural, when those things happen, your body senses it.
Yeah.
You get outside on a windy day, your body senses it. You feel the wind. And they believe in that wind. Full faith in the wind, but anything supernatural is, there's other excuses for it. And it doesn't bother me. It just, I don't understand some of the people that are that way. And
Yep.
some of them are my family, my direct family. And I don't think I'll ever get it. But
I ask people when they try to say things, I say, hey, have you ever seen $1 million? Because I know most people haven't. And they'll go,
That's right.
no. And I go, that don't mean it doesn't exist.
That's right.
Right?
Yep. There are a few that have seen it.
Yeah, yep. I haven't.
Me neither. Me neither.
I haven't.
I've seen all good. It's there's nothing. I don't think there's anything that someone could come up and say, hey, this is what I witnessed. This is what I experienced or what I seen today. And I would not blow them off. No. Some of the absolutely absurd stuff that I've seen, that I've witnessed firsthand. I don't have an explanation for it. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. And I don't spend my days hallucinating for nothing. But right. I'm experiencing these things, and so many others are doing the same.
Mm-hmm.
How do you explain it? A mass hallucination?
No.
Well, it's happening to people in other countries that we're unaffiliated with. We know nothing about them.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them, they don't have internet. They have no way of even knowing about the stuff they're experiencing. It's the same thing we're experiencing here in the States. It's just a strange time. That's all it is to it. It's a strange time, but it's all good. We only live once. Make the best of it and just absorb, soak in all of it, except for the bad. Let it bounce off.
That's right. I think that veil has become a little more thin.
It's extremely thin. It's got holes in it.
It's definitely got. Yeah, it's right. It used to be a full sheet. Now it's more like a piece of lace.
Yeah. It's one of them fishnet stockings.
Yeah, there you go.
It's got some leaks. That's for sure.
Right. That's right. Oh man. Well, listen. We've been on 2 hours, man. Oh
wow.
Yeah, I know. Crazy, right? Crazy.
Well, I enjoyed it. Thank you so much for inviting me over. I absolutely enjoyed it.
I'm always so happy when you're here, man. I'm always happy to talk to you. We hadn't talked in a little while. I know you were busy. Holidays came, all that stuff, and I said, you know what? I gotta reach out and ask him to come back on this show. People kept asking me. Every time that I had a live when I was in the woods and things were kind of mellow, I would always say, who do you guys want to see on the show? And every single time, everyone would say, when are you having Donnie back on? Are you going to have Donnie Miller back on? Every time.
That is awesome. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, all of you, so very much. And, I was telling Kyle, most of you know the problem I had with the memory cards. Lost all the footage. Our brother Don Moore sent me a memory card. Perfect. Everything's beautiful. This Arctic blast hit. I go out and I filmed, and what I thought was hours and hours of footage. And the GoPro, there's nothing wrong with it. It just, all my cards died. Evidently, if it gets below freezing, they don't work. You hit record, it'll power on, start recording, and it cuts off like in, 30 seconds. And so I'm in the woods hunting. I film a hunt, always have, but we haven't had cold snaps like this. So days and days of footage. I'll go to check the camera, and I'll look on the for the footage, and it's got like 30 minutes of footage on it, and it should be completely filled up. And so what happens, when it's cold, you hit the record. I got it on my head right here on a headband because I don't have a mount to put it on my new muzzleloader. It won't fit on the scope on that one. So I wear it on my head. A deer's coming in. I hear him coming in. I reach up and hit record. And when it gets cold and it shuts off because it's too cold, it was at 91%. And it told me the battery was too low. Had a dead battery. And well, I didn't know it cut off because I turned the beeps off because I'm hunting. You don't need it beeping when you're trying to hunt. And so deer comes in. It's not what we're targeting. I watch him. He leaves. I reach up. I hit the button, turn it off. And I'm turning it on and off throughout the day. I get back to the truck. At the end of the day, this is hunting from the morning all the way into sundown. I go back and check the footage. And I've got like 30 seconds of footage on it. I hit the record and it ran until it went from 100% to 91% battery, and it cut off. Well, then after that, I go to hit record. It'll pop a message up to tell you your last session stopped prematurely because the battery died. And you have to acknowledge it before it'll record again. I didn't know that. It's never been that cold here that I experienced that. And so I'm steadily hitting record, hitting stop, and it just never recorded again. And so this happened like 6 or 7 days in a row. And I had so much footage. I got growled at. I got howled at. I got pelted with sticks. I was in a shooting blind, and the sticks are hitting the roof. Little small things. They're bouncing all off of it. They're hitting the side, just all around it. And where I'm at, there's a tree overhead. And the stuff hitting the roof, I thought there's a squirrel up there. He's chewing, he's dropping limbs. You know, that happens a lot. Well, then they're hitting the side and they're nailing it. Well, I got a window in the front I'm looking through, and I got a window on my left side. And these are the areas I'm hunting. And I'm just happened to look out the front window, and I see a stick come flying by like this way out the window. And so I stick my head out. And I got this little wind. I have to kind of turn my head sideways. I stick my head out thinking Chris come in and was messing with me. I could see 150, 200 yards. There's nobody there. Where'd the stick come from? And it came this way. I pulled my head back in. I'm thinking, he must have ran behind the blind, but I would have heard him in the leaves. And then another stick hits, and they're just all over it. But and I got it on video. I thought I had it on video. Didn't record none of it. But I didn't see anything. It was just sticks. I seen the one go by the window, and I poked my head out, and it hit the blind the entire time. And I'm in it 3 hours. Finally, I had enough. So now I'm getting out of here. You know, because then the longer I sat, the more I got to thinking, this has got to be a Bigfoot. This is Sasquatch out here messing with me. I'm 400 or 500 yards from Chris. There's a swamp that separates where he's at and where I'm at. And I got to go. And I was so afraid to unzip that door and step out. I knew he was going to be there, you know, and I finally got the nerve up. I opened the door. I kind of pushed it open and looked, and I didn't see anything, but it was funny. After I got out and I got out of the swamp where I could see my truck, then it was kind of funny, but I recorded it, and I had 12, 13 seconds of video on it and didn't have none of it, none of the sticks. It was just when I was walking to the blind, I got just a few steps of that and it cut off.
No,
And
that's
so
a bummer, man.
all of
I
that.
did this. Same thing happened to me not too long ago. I went out to do a paranormal EVP session down at the battlefield one night during the snowstorm, and I have a voice recorder, and I didn't even know that I had to hit the record button twice, because when you hit it once, the screen lights up. It's on, right? So I hit it once. And then I sat down and did a 40-minute EVP session, asked it all kind of questions. Came home, went to check the audio, nothing.
Oh, Oh,
I sat outside for 40 minutes in a snowstorm for nothing.
I don't feel so bad. We didn't have snow. We had the cold. We just didn't have the snow. It wasn't that cold.
Oh
But
goodness, man.
It's all good though. We're I
That's
am
right.
working on getting. I'm leaning toward getting another camera,
Yeah, we were talking about this.
but I'm also kind of torn between getting the new batteries for the GoPro, the Enduro batteries, because they're made for the cold.
Yeah.
I think
Everyone in the chat saying hand warmers for your GoPro.
really.
Yeah.
I guess you stick them to it. Maybe I didn't think about
You
that.
could probably use like a
Hand
a hair tie. You know how people use those rubber band hair ties to wrap their ponytail?
Oh yeah.
So you could probably just wrap one of those around a hand warmer around it or something.
Well, I get the body ones. I'm out right now, but the body ones, they're not real big, but they got a paper backing on it. You peel it off, it's sticky. It's made so you can stick it to your
Oh,
shirt, and
okay.
then put your overshirt on and keep the heat in. And shoot, that would probably work. I never even thought about that.
What was the camera you were thinking about getting? The new Action?
I'm considering the DJI, the Action 3, and it comes with the extreme battery. I think it's good for 14 degrees Fahrenheit, and it'll work down to 14 degrees, and it's not going to get colder than that here. But
No,
it's
not in
got
Florida. If it gets that cold in Florida, we know we're in trouble.
Yeah, now it got 9 or 10 degrees this blast we just had.
No way.
Yeah, it was nasty cold. It was bad cold.
Oh man,
I got in a tree stand. First thing in the morning, I got up in the stand, and 8 o'clock, I couldn't take it. I had to come down. Well, I go to move my feet. I'm sitting. I got my feet against the footrest. It's raised. You can kind of stick your feet out in front of you, and I can't move my feet. So I snatched my leg, and I hear the like something breaking, and there's a sheet of ice shaped like the tread of my boot from walking on all the iced over mud. My boots were wet. They froze to the stand. And I've never had that happen.
Yep.
And then I got all this mess. Why ain't shaved? Because it's been cold. And we got another one coming tomorrow night. It's going to start getting cold. And I had little balls of ice all over my face. And right here, I thought like my nose was running nose goblins. And my whole mustache here was just frozen. It was ice.
It was from the moisture. You're breathing warm air.
Yeah, I didn't know it was moisture. I thought it was nose goblins. Yeah, liquefied boogers, and it grossed me out because I felt it, and I was like, "Whoa!" Now, and so I got my tissue, and it was so much of it. It didn't have color to it, but I thought that's what it was. Like, oh my gosh, my nose is pouring that mess out. And then I was talking to a friend who lives up north, and he says, when you go out in the cold, like in the snow, it's the condensation.
Yep.
When you breathe the steam and it condensates. He said, "Oh, it's not snot." And I said, "Well, I didn't want to call it that, but that's what I thought it was." He said, "No, it's condensation. It's from you breathing." And he said up there, they wear like the full mask. Mm-hmm. And he said it's got little holes and where you breathe. And he said it'll freeze over solid right there. Just from breathing through it. And man, that's crazy. But I roughed it out. My face did all right. It wasn't too cold except for my nose and ears froze. But yeah, it was
bad. When you get to that level of cold, man, it goes from being cold to being painful.
Yeah, my feet hurt.
Yeah, it's just painful at that point.
They burned like fire. And yeah, I don't want it that cold no more. I just seen where T-Boy says those booties that go over your boots are awesome. I forgot I've got a pair of those. And a friend gave them to me, and I don't remember. I've got them in my closet. I forgot all about them.
Easy to do when you're not used to having weather like that.
Yeah. Well, he lived in Alaska for a long time in the military. And
Oh,
so he had a home outside of the base there. And him and his wife loved it. They stayed for a long time. But he went and got these booties from the base. And yeah, it's just what he's saying. They go over your boot. And I got a pair of them. I've never worn them. I tried them on. And they do fit my boots. And I didn't even think about them. And those are, I mean, they're awesome. They got the bottom of them, they're camo. And you just stick your whole boot inside. And you wrap the Velcro around and it cinches down. Well, it's got a big, heavy, like rubber tread on the bottom. So you can walk, outside in it. And it doesn't hurt them. And golly, I forgot all about them. Well, it's kind of too late now that Arctic stuff's gone, but it's all good. And thank you for the reminder. I wish I would remember them.
Hopefully it doesn't come back anytime soon. We're still in winter here, so we can get it anytime. Usually January, February is our worst time here. It's when we generally get the most snow and cold snaps, but it's been a very
February
mild.
Is worst for us too is February.
Yeah, it's been very mild so far. I mean, it was 53 degrees today. It's January 3rd. I mean, that's warm. That's very warm for us.
Yeah, it was 78 here.
Yeah.
It was 81 yesterday.
Yeah, wow.
It was horrible. But it's not so much the heat, it's the humidity.
Of course
the humidity in Florida is just, it is so bad. Oh, there's Long Island Bigfoot.
Yeah, Mike. Good old Mikey. He's a good egg.
Yeah, Brother Mikey. That's awesome.
What's up, Red Creek? What's going on, Mike? How you doing, buddy? Thanks for popping in, man. Oh, guys, by the way.
Thank you.
By the way, our friend Mike, I'm going to butcher your name, Bluler? Mike B., who was on the show and shared his amazing encounter that he had. It was like, I forgot how long it was, 30 minutes. He was stared this thing down from his tree stand in the scope of his gun, and then the thing got closer to him. He's starting his own channel. Red Creek Mafia is the channel. So please go subscribe. He already, listen to this, okay? You talk about starting off a channel on the right foot. His first guest is going to be Ron Moorhead.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty good for your first guest.
Yes, indeed.
Pretty good. So I think he's going to do great.
No doubt.
Yep, we're going to promote it. We're going to help him grow. That's what we do. There's room for everybody. That's the way this works, man.
Yes, sir.
No one's in competition here. Not on this channel, man. We're here to help each other out. So, Mike, when you're up and running, buddy, you let us know, and we'll all come over there and subscribe and share and like and all that good stuff, man. We got your back, brother.
Yep, absolutely.
Yes, sir. Oh, look, we got it right here. Here's the link right here. Look it. Thank you, Sandy, for doing that. Thank you. Wonderful. Awesome. Oh, it's up. I didn't realize it was up and running. 30 seconds. I got to go subscribe. Jeez, look at that. I'm talking about it. I'm a jerk. I didn't even know it was up and running. What a jerk.
It's all good. He's just running at a much faster pace than you are. That's all.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I'm moving pretty slow these days, man. I'm moving pretty slow.
I'm right there with you.
Poor people have to watch me out in the woods, man. It's like a joke. It's just like a running joke. My ankle's so bad, Donnie. My right ankle's terrible. It's awful. It hurts every single day, and it's so weak. And I'm out there in sneakers because I have plantar fasciitis. So if I wear boots, then my feet hurt wicked bad. So I'm wearing running shoes in the woods in the winter. And I'm in there. And every time I go out, I go, oh, man, this is going to be bad. The ankle's going to give out. It's going to be bad. And people in the chat are going, not the ankle again. Not the ankle again. Everyone's telling me I need to get all this. Oh, there we go. Good stuff, man.
Red Creek Mafia. I just subbed.
I'm going to do this right now, too. We're going to do it on the air so we can. So we got proof.
Yeah.
But they make fun. They joke. It's all good. I don't care. I like to joke around anyway. So, but they joke about it because it's just bad, man. I'm out there stumbling around and, breaking my ankle over and over again. They're telling me you got to get boots, and I'm like, I can't wear boots because my feet hurt. And they're like, well, then your ankle's gonna hurt. I'm like, well, my ankle don't hurt as bad as my feet hurt, so I'll just deal with the ankle.
I'm so blessed that GoPro has the image stabilization that they have. There it is.
Subscribe. 46.
I don't walk smooth at all. I got a wobble to me from all the mess ups and boo boos I've taken through my life.
Yeah.
So, but the GoPro, the first time that I filmed with the GoPro, I knew nothing about image stabilization. I was using my phone. So I'm walking through the woods, I'm doing this, I'm looking
That's
around.
What I do.
I go back and watch my video footage, and I got to hold one eye closed because I'm getting seasick. I'm like, oh my God, I'm uploading that?
Yeah.
People are, a few people chewed me out for the horrible footage, but it was what it was. It was the truth. It was horrible. But I had a lot of good people that are still with me now that were giving me tips, how to improve it. Pretend your phone. I remember that the one, pretend that your phone is on a bottle of water or a body of water is floating. Keep it floating on the water. There's no waves. Don't be doing this with it. Keep it floating. And so I was concentrating on walking and keeping it, and I really focused on it. And then I watched the first time I done it. I went back, I looked at the video. I was like, oh my God, I filmed that. I mean, it was still pretty jerky. But then I got a GoPro image stabilization, and I went back and watched the video footage, and I was so blown away by it that I had to upload it onto a tablet so I can watch it bigger. I couldn't believe I filmed it. There was no, because I don't walk smooth. I walk messed up. I got bad leg, bad back. I just got, everything's bad except for that earlobe right here. Everything else is messed up, and so I walk like it. And the GoPro just, if you shake or you walk really like out of sorts like I do, any camera with image stabilization is going to save the day. It's going to make you look really good at filming. And it's, it's not me, it's the camera. But I was, man, so blessed. And
it's funny we bring this up because me and you talked about cameras yesterday, right? And we talked about how much I want a drone and how it would completely change everything, right? But I need a good camera too, something that's like that, that's got stabilization or a gimbal or whatever. Because I do the same thing. I try so hard
with 3 extra batteries and you're set.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, and I can't say anything else, but all I can tell you is the quality on the filming on this channel is going to change in the next month. That's all I can say.
Awesome.
That's all I can say, and I'm so thrilled. So thrilled.
Absolutely. But it just, it's one step at a time, and what you've done now. I mean, look where you're at. Look where Encrypted Connections is at now. Did you ever think you'd be at this point? In the beginning,
no.
And
goodness, no.
It's who you are. The love that you put out towards people. They receive it, they spread it out, and I mean, you've grown like it was almost overnight. Look how fast it happened.
It happened very fast, and the majority of the subs happened in the first month, and then first month and a half, and then the next month and a half, the subs slowed down, but the views continued coming. Like the views I have so many views on this channel. When I look at my analytics, I'm going, what? Are you kidding me? That can't be right. And the viewed hours is crazy. I'm hoping the subs start to catch up, because when I look at that, the analytics still show that about 35 to 40% of people who watch aren't subbed, which would make a huge difference. A huge difference.
It'll get there, and the Spirit of God that's within you, it's showing, and you attract what you emit. You put out them good vibes and just love and joy to everyone, and that's what you're attracting. I mean, look at the people in the chat.
Oh, that's the best
greatest
part.
People on YouTube.
The best part, man.
you don't end up with people like that.
Yeah.
Most channels don't.
No.
It's amazing. I mean, you're blessed. Just it is so immense. Where you're sitting now, and the blessings and the support you got right here is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, these are my brothers and sisters. In the chat here now. Like
Yeah.
95% of them. A lot of them I don't know, but I mean, these are they're great people. You don't attract the hoodlums of YouTube. You're attracting the top notch people, and that's what you want. And if it means you grow a little slower, so be it.
Yeah.
The growth you have is solid. It's going to remain solid. It's not going anywhere. And everything else, the Lord will put it in order. You'll get the camera that you're supposed to have is going to, you focus on one, something much better and much nicer is going to actually be the one that falls in your hands. And just the stuff that happens, it's incredible. And I told you,
really is.
Like my personal situation with our income. We have nothing. We're not 501c3. Yeah, my channel's not monetized. I make no money off of it. We make no money off of the goats. We do not receive donations. We're not a charity, a 501c3, but we're doing all this off of fixed income. But because we're always helping people and trying to do the best that we can, God is constantly putting just these amazing people on our path.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The greatest people I've ever met in my life came from right here at YouTube. And I never thought in a million years I'd say that about any internet site at all, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
Just the greatest people in my life right now are right here in YouTube, and a large portion of them are in your chat right now.
They are. It's really the best part of this channel is the people in the chat. It's the people that come and watch these videos. It's the people that when I go live in the woods, they're there. And most of them, we have, I would say a good majority have talked off of this screen. We've talked off of here at some point.
Yeah.
I make myself available. Matter of fact, I have not put the banner up. And so if there's people who here are new, you can reach me right there. That's my email. That's my number one email. That's my regular email. I've been doing this since the very beginning. Or you can find me on Facebook Messenger under my name. You'll see my picture. It makes it so enjoyable. There's so many times when I have nothing, when I'm not doing anything, I have no scheduled show, and I just go, you know what? I want to go on because I want to be amongst these people. I want to be able to talk to these people because more than anything, it's like a family, man. That last part of the name of this channel, connections, that rings so true. So many connections made through this channel. It's amazing. Amazing.
Well, it was all, put on paper thousands of years ago. Our Father who art in heaven, our Father, not your Father, and then mine, and then his and hers. Ours. We all have the same Father. Therefore, we are brothers and sisters. One family. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Keep it in the family.
That's right. Yeah. Well,
to an extent.
To an extent.
Yeah, we just push the garbage out, but
it's
sometimes
amazing.
Those around you will remove the trash for you.
That's right.
That's the blessings of the Creator.
Yeah,
that is awesome. Kyle, thank you, man.
Thank you.
I can't thank you enough.
Thank you, man. You don't have to thank me.
Amazing.
I'm so grateful that you come on, man. It was the first of the year. I have other guests, different guests that I haven't had on that are ready to come on the show. And as we were heading towards the new year, I really wanted to have some of the people who really helped me when we first started, because we're going to the new year. I said, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I want to bring some of these people back because they were so instrumental in helping this channel get off the ground and start growing and get to the place where it is now. And that's why I've been having people back on who have been on already. It's not because I don't have other people lined up. I do have other
that's
people lined
awesome.
up. I wanted to start this new year and go back to the people who really meant the most to the channel. And that was the
Yeah.
people who were there right in the beginning, when I was nothing and nobody. And you were our very first guest. You remember that?
Was I your first?
You were my very first guest.
I didn't know that. I remember coming on. I didn't know I was the first one.
Yep.
Yeah, my memory is very patchy.
Yeah,
Getting
so is
old.
mine. Don't worry. So is mine. The only reason I know that is because I looked at the channel today.
There you go. There you go.
I cheated.
But it's all good though. I'm just it's always a blessing being here with you. And when we talk on the
Yes, sir.
phone or we're texting, whatever it may be, it's just it always touches me in
Me too.
such an uplifting way. And I can't thank you enough. And I apologize for making you wait so late.
No, don't
It was a
apologize.
fiasco. I had to be in Alabama for a doctor's appointment, and somebody cut the internet cable for the doctor's building, for all the buildings at that end of the road. And so they couldn't pull up our files. They couldn't print out prescriptions for people. They couldn't print out your appointment. They couldn't do anything. So we had to sit there and wait for about 3 hours until they got the internet cable fixed. So I was late. But
Here's that's the only downfall to technology, right?
yeah.
If
Yeah.
it fails, then people go, "Oh my gosh, what do we do now? What do we do now?"
Something so simple as a
That's it.
or a dead battery, and everything is shut down.
That's it.
I like the old days, pen
Yeah.
and paper, but people
Yep.
today can't write.
Yeah, they don't even teach
new
cursive
generation.
anymore. None of that. I remember when I worked my first job, I worked in filings, and I remember the credit card thing. I don't know if you guys remember this. I think most people in here are old enough to.
Swipe thing.
Yeah, that thing. There was no way.
That one.
There was no way. But I wondered about this back then too. I'm like, all this thing does is copies the credit card info onto this piece of paper, right? Nobody has any idea if this person still has credit on this card. All it does is goes, okay, there's the info. We'll bill you. We'll bill your credit card. No one knew at that moment if they had maxed that card out.
Well, back then, we didn't. It wasn't as dishonest as society is today.
It's true.
Back then, it just there were far more good people in society than there were bad. And boy, today, I mean, people they're confused. They don't even know who they are. Now it's not just male and female. Now there's an other. What is that?
Yeah.
I just, it's mind boggling to me. I would be insulted really badly if they asked me if I was the other. I mean, the female generation women are they're beautiful. The children, the elderly, the female race is beautiful. When you look like this, it's pretty obvious that I'm of the male side. But, what is the other? People are now like the doctor I started seeing recently in Panama. I had to fill out the new paperwork for the new doctor.
Yeah.
And that's what it asked. Male, female, or other was the box, one of the options. So what is other?
Can I tell you something that I heard the other day from one of my subscribers? We talk pretty regularly.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm okay. So let me just first say this, right? I believe in God. I'm a spiritual man that way, whatever. But I don't judge at all. I don't care if you feel like you weren't born the right way and that's your choice. That's your choice. It doesn't bother me. I don't care. Everybody's got their thing. You feel your way. I feel mine. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. It never has. But there's a line. Okay. Here's where I draw it. She tells me she pulled her kids out of school. because they have litter boxes in the school because so many people are what's the word? Not recognized.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. They're calling themselves.
They're saying they're cats.
They're cats.
They're saying this is real. I looked this
Well,
up.
what happens if that thug, comes into the school and says, "I see myself as a pit bull"?
Well,
Pit bull
I
with
guess
rabies.
guess they got to get it. I guess they got to get it a leash. I don't know.
Is it a legitimate fight?
Here's the question though. This is the question, right? So there's litter boxes in the school for these kids who identify, that's the word, identify as cats. Who's cleaning those litter boxes?
Oh, I didn't think about that. That's bad. Oh, that's bad.
That's
crazy.
What? What? Is this real? Is this the world we live in?
They need to change the title in the school to School of the what is it, the mentally what's that? The school for the people that have the mental issues.
Mentally disabled.
Mentally disabled. Yeah.
Yeah.
The school of the mentally disabled. I mean, you've got to have something wrong if you think you're an animal and you got to use a litter box.
Yeah.
Maybe they need to go hang out with Bigfoot for a little while. I think that'll straighten them up pretty quick.
Maybe, yeah, because I'm sure he doesn't use a litter box.
No. Probably use cats.
There's a Bigfoot crap in the woods.
Yeah. You can ask Jeff about that one.
Oh boy.
We actually found what we believe was that.
Oh, it must have been gigantic.
It was like that. And it was huge. It was so big. And I asked Jeff and said, "Is that what I think it is?" And Jeff come up, looked at it, and leaned over. He said, "That's crap." I mean, he didn't use that word, but he said, "Yeah, that's exactly what it is." And it was huge.
Wow.
It was not to be nasty, but it was the true definition of a log.
Yeah, I bet.
Bigger than my arm. I mean, it was crazy. And it's not the point of a person leaving that behind, but it's 16 to 18 inches long. And
there ain't no way. You ain't doing nothing. That ain't coming out of me.
There's nothing that big in Florida that would leave feces like that. There's nothing that big.
Nope.
And it was scary, and it did have a pretty rank odor.
No, I'm sure it did.
It was right there, the same place where we ran into that little werewolf thing and got surrounded by him. It was right there. And I got it on. Well, I think I still have it on film. I actually filmed it, took pictures of it, and took video of it. But it was crazy. Yeah, I didn't mean to keep you.
No, you're good. You're good. Listen, guys, I don't know if that story's true. It was more about the joke. Wasn't about that story being true. It was more about the joke about cleaning the litter boxes. Come on. Just
absolutely.
Relax. Have a little fun. Come on. Have a little fun. Just lighten up about the things that are going on around you.
Unless you're the one that's cleaning the litter box.
Unless you're the one cleaning that litter box.
Yeah, then you got a reason to be mad.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Fresh says that's a trip hazard.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, man. That's messed up.
A forced speed bump. My goodness. Well, guys, 2 hours 35 minutes. I don't know what it is, man. Every time that we talk, even when it's on the phone, we're on there for hours, and it just seems like it's so fast. It goes by so quick, man. And the first time we talked, it was a 6-hour conversation.
6 hours.
Remember that? That was the craziest thing. When I looked at my phone, I was like, wait, how long? Yeah, crazy.
it's hard to walk away from a good thing. And
That's right,
all it is
brother.
to it. You're as
That's
good
right.
as they come.
Oh, you too, man. You too. Look at this cat. It's just
See him.
ridiculous.
That's
Ridiculous.
funny.
Yeah. Well,
I'm just over there staring at me. Gracie, our deaf dog, she just sits there just looking at me. Waiting for me. We have to
Wow.
hand signal her, and she's waiting for me
Oh.
to give her the signal where she could push the gate open to come in here. But she's not allowed in here because she likes to play with the baby ducks. She don't hurt them,
Oh.
but she'll pull each one of them out of the pen, and then they're running all over the place. So she's as good as gold. But she's 2 years old, and she's literally got the mind of like a 10-week-old puppy.
Oh,
She's got
really?
a lot of neurological issues. Yeah, that's why she was
Oh.
born deaf. But she's my baby. She's waiting on me to take her to bed.
Well, we'll let you get her to bed, man. We'll let you get her to bed.
It's all good. Thank you
That's-
again for having me on.
Anytime,
I
brother.
appreciate it.
Anytime.
We'll
You're
do
always-
it again.
Of course we will. You're always welcome here. Your family, man.
Thank you. Yeah,
Your
you as
family.
well. Most
Thank you.
definitely. And everyone here, it's just, man, what a blessing. What a blessing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Guys, I'll be back on Thursday night. We're having a gentleman on who is having ongoing activity at some property nearby his house. Kenny will be on to tell us some real crazy stuff, and to share some I believe he's going to share some incredible audio. He posted some of it to Facebook about a week ago, and it is one of the better audio clips I've heard in a very long time. It's incredible. It's multiple different creatures signing off in this audio clip. One female, a couple males, just kind of going ham for a little while, and it's something else. So he'll be on Thursday, and then look out next Tuesday for Miss Gail Beatty. If you don't know who she is, I suggest you look her up. She's been a researcher for quite a while with the Hudson Valley Sasquatch Organization, I think is the name of it, or Bigfoot Organization, Bigfoot Researchers Organization. I forget the full name. But she's been a researcher for quite a while. She's done a whole lot of stuff to help people who've had problems with these things, like ongoing problems. And she's got some story. We talked just for only maybe about 45 minutes to an hour, and some of the stuff that she shared with me, I was just floored. So it's going to be a great show. And there's other stuff to come. I'm not going to tell you what yet, but there's other stuff to come. And there's some stuff that's cooking right now that could be incredibly big. But again, I'm not going to tell you. You'll figure it out if I survive long enough. Maybe there's a hint. Maybe there's a hint in there somewhere.
That's awesome.
So we'll be back on Thursday night, guys. Have a good night. And until next time, I love you all.
God bless you.
Good night.